Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm taking a look at the Minnesota Vikings and going over the top 5 challenges I think they will have to face in the upcoming 2021 season. But before we get into that topic, just a quick question for those of you viewing, especially the Vikings fans out there. How far do you have the Minnesota Vikings going this year? You got them winning the division, you got them making the playoffs, you got them in the NFC Championship, you got them bringing home a Super Bowl trophy, whatever it is, comment down below. Kind of hear my answer at the end. And while you're in the comment section, comment down below a video idea you'd like to see me do, and I'll see if I can hop on it. But getting straight into it, challenge number 1 is going to be Kirk Cousins. I'm going to say right now, I'm not a Vikings fan, but Kirk Cousins is probably a top 5 player of mine in the league. I don't know what it is about him. It might be his dance moves, but he's just a likable guy, and he's one of my favorite players in the league. But even I'll admit, being a big Kirk Cousins fan, there's a ceiling to him. I mean, no matter how many weapons you get around him, there's going to be a ceiling to what Kirk Cousins can do. No matter what, he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, but that doesn't mean he can't do fine. Guys that are worse than Kirk Cousins have gotten to Super Bowls before. Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl before. Jimmy G went to the Super Bowl before. You could say they're kind of on par, but whatever you want to make your argument being, Kirk Cousins to me is like a guy like Matt Ryan. He can get the job done, but don't ever expect him to be Aaron Rodgers. So Kirk Cousins, with him being a ceiling, it's still going to be a challenge for him to play at that ceiling. The Vikings really need him to play at that max level, and I think he can now. This could be a run-centric offense if you really want it to be. Dalvin Cook's arguably, he is a top 3 running back in the league, but you could make the argument he's the best running back in the league. You got a pretty good receiving core in Jay Jettis. He's up and coming. Adam Thielen's as reliable as it comes. Irv Smith's going to play a big role now. I think him being kind of the number 1 tight end, I think we're going to see a lot out of him. The defense, it's as good as it comes in the NFL. I'm really high on this Vikings team, but mainly their defense this year. Danielle Hunter coming back, adding Dalvin Tomlinson, adding Sheldon Richardson back. You're going to have a decent front line. Again, Dalvin Tomlinson and Sheldon Richardson aren't going to be your pass rushers, but they're going to crowd the box and hopefully open up for Danielle Hunter. I've already predicted Danielle Hunter to have a career-high season this year. You added Pat Pete, got Harrison Smith, you got Xavier Woods, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. Kirk Cousins has the roster to really, I don't want to say carry him, but this term game manager is kind of condescending and it makes the quarterback look bad, but I truly think if Kirk Cousins can just play at a game manager, and that's not a bad thing, where he just doesn't turn over the ball, all he does is put up numbers, put up touchdowns that are efficient and productive, the roster can do the rest. So defense is going to slow down other teams. Dalvin Cook's going to get his touchdown a game. Jay Jettis, Adam Thielen is going to make some plays after catch. Like I said, I don't want to call Kirk Cousins a game manager because I do think he's above that. But I'm saying that's all the Vikings need, and that's going to be a challenge because Kirk Cousins, he's never really been a big turnover guy, but he has had some primetime issues, those big game issues. He really needs to just be more efficient in those games, got to be more confident in the pocket. And while I think he can do it, it will be a challenge to really step up because this Vikings team this year, they really can make a run at it, but they need Kirk Cousins to do so. They need him to lead them, and that's going to be a challenge. But number 2 on the list is going to be Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is one of the better defensive head coaches in the league, no doubt, but I have my questions about him being an innovative offensive-minded head coach. You look at the offensive head coaches in the league. They are Bruce Arians, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. They are, I don't want to say young because Bruce Arians is not young by any means, like the second oldest coach in the league or something, but they are young in the age of football in bringing new innovative plays. Mike Zimmer, I just feel like he's not with the times when it comes to offensive plays. Again, he's a great defensive-minded head coach, and he's a good, well-rounded coach, but when you have a quarterback that has a certain ceiling and a coach that has a certain ceiling in his offensive skills, that's not the best combo, and it's going to be a challenge for both Kirk Cousins, referring back to challenge number 1, and Mike Zimmer, challenge number 2, really putting their minds together to put together a potent and lethal offense. While I think they could do it with the weapons they have and the defense they have to rely on them, again, it's going to be a tough journey, a tough challenge, a tough whatever you want to call it for this team to really put it together and become an offensive powerhouse. Well, they have the weapons that really needs to come together in the fundamental and organizational sense of coaching it and executing it through the quarterback position. I like Mike Zimmer, I like Kirk Cousins, but like I said, guys, there is a limit to the two when it comes to their offensive firepower, and that is going to be a challenge to really overcome or push the limits of. Number 3 on the list is going to be injuries. Unfortunately, I feel like the Vikings aren't a super injury-prone team, but this last year did hit them pretty hard. Danielle Hunter didn't play. Anthony Barr didn't play. Those are like 2 top 4 or 5 players on your defense. It probably goes not in any order, but Danielle Hunter, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, now Pat Pete. You could argue that's a top 5. That's off the top of my head. I'm sure there's someone I'm missing. But 2 of your top 5 players not really playing last year. That's not good. Dalvin Cook, he's played most of the season last year, but he's still yet to play a full 16-game season. Eric Kendricks didn't play the full 16 games, and I get it. At some point in the seasons, it just wasn't their day, or it was at the end of the season. But yada, 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 excuse after excuse. They need to really go into this year and not have any injuries. That's really important for them this year to really go on the next level. Vikings last year, they were 1 win away from being a wildcard team. You're telling me if you had a healthy Anthony Barr and a healthy Danielle Hunter to just really shut down an extra guy or get an extra 14 sacks, you wouldn't have been a playoff team, or at least at the bare minimum 8-8 to get you a wildcard spot? I find a hard time believing that now this year. If they could stay healthy, you got Danielle Hunter, a top 10 pass rusher. You got Eric Kendricks, a top 5 linebacker. You got Harrison Smith, arguably a top 5 safety. It's tough to put it. He is arguably top 5. Pat Pete, still one of the better corners in the league, with Xavier Woods, with Anthony Barr, with Rashad Breeland, with Dalvin Tomlinson, with Sheldon Richardson. This team, when healthy, is going to be a top defense in the league. I'm actually thinking about making, if the Vikings to be a top 5 defense, making a video about that, but that's for another topic. I think if they can prevent injuries, this will be a very lethal team on both sides of the football, but injuries was a challenge last year. Again, Dalvin Cook was the second in rushing yards last year, 1,500 yards plus, and only played 14 games. Imagine if he played a whole season, especially 17 next year. Maybe Dalvin Cook will break 2K in the upcoming year, but we need to see everyone stay healthy, and that is a challenge for them, at least in recent history. Number 4 on the list is straight up just the toughness of the division and the NFC as a whole. I'll get to the division in a minute, but looking at trying to make a spot in the NFC or playoff spots, you got the Bucks, who are, I don't want to say a lock, but a lock for the playoffs. Someone has to come out of the NFC East, whoever it may be. That's another video. NFC West, you got 4 potential playoff teams: Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, Niners. That's 6 possible playoff teams. You have your own division, maybe you and the Packers. That's possibly 8 playoff teams. We're already over the limit of 7, and there's other teams who could sit in. The Panthers, who knows how Sam Darnold will be. Maybe the Saints aren't giving up. Maybe 2 teams will make it out in the NFC East. You're getting to the time of, all right, we're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 potential playoff teams. Who's going to make the cut? And the NFC is extremely tight this year. I don't expect anyone to make it in at or below 500 like they did last year. The Bears, I think everyone's going to be a very dangerous team this year in the NFC, and it's going to be tough for the Vikings to make a spot. Not saying they can't, not saying they're not on par with every single one of those teams. I'm just saying it won't be easy, and therefore it is a challenge. And then the division, when you got Aaron Rodgers in the division, I don't care if the other teams, if it's just you and Aaron Rodgers and there's literally no other teams, it's going to be tough. For the Vikings' sake, obviously, if Aaron Rodgers somehow, some way doesn't play or isn't a Packer, I think they just roll through the division. I don't think it will be close. The Bears might be, they might give you some trouble just because of their defense, but I don't think it'll be a big issue. But even if Aaron Rodgers is there, Dalvin Cook stole a game from the Packers himself last year, literally by himself. He ran for 200-plus yards, and the rest was just like, all right, we'll roll through him, and he'll do the rest. This year, who's to say he can't do the same? And now we've got a healthy roster to help him out. A Kirk Cousins, a better Jay Jettas, a healthy defense. Who's to say they can't go 2-0 against the Packers? Do I think that'll happen? No. But can they easily split it again? 100%. It will be tough. It won't be easy, and therefore it's going to be a challenge just getting through that division and through the NFC. Then the final challenge this year is going to be protection at that O-line. They addressed it in the draft. Getting Christian Darrisaw, arguably the best or the 3rd best tackle in that draft, with the upside of being the best. I'm expecting Penei Sewell or Rashawn Slater to be better than him, but who knows? We've seen tackles been taken before anyone else, and they didn't pan out. The Giants had the first pick in 2020 of the top tackle. They took Andrew Thomas, yet Tristan Wirfs later in the teens, he turned out to be the best tackle in the draft. So, they could have the upside of the best tackle in the draft, but to me, 3rd best tackle seems safe. That's where he's projected to be, and that is what they need this year. They also got Wyatt Davis in the 3rd round, a guard for the interior line. I don't know if Darrisaw and Davis are going to start week 1 and be, blockbuster blocks or walls for this O-line week 1, but I do think in time we could be looking at a better O-line between Davis, between Darrisaw, between O'Neal, pretty decent tackle that the Vikings might be looking to keep. It will be a challenge to really get these rookies in there, but I do think it'll improve this year compared to last. Again, it'll be challenged the first few weeks, but I do think in time this won't be an O-line we just laugh at anymore. I think it's not going to be the best O-line by any means, but I do think it'll be average to above average to where it could be counted on. We'll just have to see, though. You guys tell me, do you agree or disagree with the list? Again, to go over it, Kirk Cousins in a ceiling is going to be a challenge. Mike Zimmer's offensive limitations is going to be a challenge. Injuries, trying to stay healthy is going to be a challenge. The NFC and the NFC North is going to be a challenge coming out of there. And the last on the O-line in development is going to be a challenge. As always, like I said, guys, comment down below. Do you agree or disagree with the list? And referring back to the question today, how far you got the Vikings going this year? To me, I do think they will make the playoffs. I have them a locked in playoff team, but as far as how far they will go, I can't predict it yet. I gotta at least see how some of these guys play. Will they all be healthy? How will Irv Smith role be? How will the O-line be? I gotta see a few more things, but right now I'm confidently gonna say this will be at minimum a wild card team. As always, and of course, guys, thank you for watching. 2-minute warning.